Good morning, everyone. I'm very excited today to talk about worldview and peace research. It's a very timely subject during the days of COVID-19 because it's a problem that affects the whole humanity. Okay, so why worldview and peace research? In today's peace studies, there is two big problems. Current approaches to peace studies tend to focus on problems such as injustice, conflict, violence from a conflict framework, conflict-oriented framework. This is the main problem of peace studies today. And secondly, current approaches of peace studies tend to focus on, on some subjects, but tend to leave some other important issues unanswered. For example, what's the nature of peace? Right. So, and I suggest a solution for this, that peace studies programs and curriculums need to change their framework or worldview from a conflict-oriented worldview to a peace-oriented worldview. That means that that requires a transformation from an integrative transformation, from psychosocial, political, moral, and spiritual condition, and this will create a unity, worldwide unity. Okay. Therefore, in today's class, we are going to talk about the worldview. What is worldview, and what types of worldview are there, and how can we develop and transform our worldview. And we will also talk about that to change a worldview from a conflict-oriented worldview to a peace-oriented worldview needs a systematic effort. And I will also offer some questions about to transform our own personal worldviews. So, okay, I'm sorry about this. There is a technical problem. It looks like that. Okay, we have to skip this video. Okay, we will continue about what is worldview. So, worldview is a mental framework within which individuals and groups interpret nature of reality, the nature and purpose of human life, and the laws governing human relationships. So these four topics are very important. So worldview is about nature of reality, the nature and purpose of human life, and the laws governing human relationships. Three important subjects. So, and worldviews are shaped by our life experiences, and at the same time they reshape our worldviews. Okay, it's vice versa. It's both like worldviews shaped by our life experiences, and also it transforms or it affects our worldviews. Okay, in order to repeat the concept of worldview. Consists of four issues, four topics. Our view of reality, what is reality, human life and reality. Our understanding of human nature, and our perspective on the purpose of life, our approach to all human relationships. Okay, so the concept of worldview, when we talk about concept of worldview, there are three different frameworks to define worldviews. The first one is mechanistic worldview, second one is the organismic worldview, and third one is contextualistic worldview. Okay, the mechanistic worldview sees both the individual, people, and the world, as well as the dynamics of their respective development within a mechanical framework, like a machine. That's what we have today in our worldview. Okay, mechanistic worldview. This is life and humans are like a machine. So we tend to define the questions and problems or solutions from a mechanistic perspective, from a mechanistic worldview. And second worldview is organismic worldview, which views the world, sees the world as a living organism in a constant state of change, adaptation, and modification, like a living organism. So it's it comes to life and grows, at a certain point dies, like an organism. So, and the last one, the contextualistic worldview, considers all human behavior to have meaning and to be open to comprehension within a specific social historical context. So it tries to see the humans and human life, society or history from a certain context. So everyone is more individualistic or relativistic. For example, if the reality of a certain type of society or civilization is not really very much valid in another society or civilization. So it is contextualistic. Okay, so there is another, let me say, there is a new emerging worldview, which we call it integrative theory of peace. And this is developed by a Canadian scholar, academician, Hussein Danish, and he proposes a new integrative theory of peace. And you can also see this integrate, as an unity-based, conflict resolution, or peace-based worldview. These are all the same theory or approach. And so he says, according to Hussein Danish, the purpose of education is to nurture the unique human capacities of knowledge, love, and will. So through education, we learn to use our knowledge in pursuit of truth and enlightenment, our love to create unity and celebrate diversity, and our powers of will to serve humanity through justice and peace. So this should be the purpose of education, he suggests. So in other words, he says that the whole purpose of education should be to create the unity. So the knowledge and the love and will of life should really should direct to the unity of the whole creation. Okay, according to this theory, integrative theory of peace, there are three types of worldview. The first one is survival-based, the second one is identity-based, and the last one is unity-based. And survival-based worldview is an authoritarian one, identity-based is an adversarial, and unity-based integrative. So we will really talk more about these three worldviews. Okay, so survival-based worldview. This worldview directly relates to the insecurities of life at both the individual and collective levels. And from the beginning of life, issues of survival and security are at the center of life. So it means that hunger, disease, natural threats, and actual or imagined malevolent forces are at the center of life. These are all the challenges that really affects the life of human beings. And to deal with these challenges, our natural tendency is to seek power. So power is at the center of this survival-based worldview. And in history, however, we see that these practices are countereffective. When we use power to control any danger, life danger, this is countereffective. Then there is another force that really will try to stop this danger. Okay, and the most common and all-pervasive worldview in human history thus far has been survival-based worldview. So in other words, that in history, in the past and today, nearly all humanity we still are at the survival-based worldview, which means that we claim that we came to a very advanced level of civilization, humanity. However, when we look at the from the consciousness level, we are not that developed. We are really very primitive, because majority, really all humanity, still at the survival-based worldview. And this worldview corresponds childhood worldview. We are all like childs. That is where we are very much preoccupied by our survival needs. Okay, so it corresponds to childhood, we said, and also corresponds to the agrarian and pre-industrial periods of societal development, and develops under conditions of poverty, injustice, anarchy, physical threat, and war. So wherever we see injustice, anarchy, physical threat, and war, that is very much, which is the level of survival-based worldview. Very much we tend to have anarchy or authority, and we tend to use. There's a tendency to use force in order to provide, to make sure the conformity and authoritarian modes of governance is valid in this survival-based worldview. Okay, let's have this is the chart of survival-based worldview. It's a very good summary, this table. So the perception at the survival-based worldview, the perception is that world is dangerous. Okay, so this is a question. Think about yourself, whether you see the world as a dangerous, whether the world is dangerous or not. So you will kind of guess your worldview. And operating principle is might is right. Yes, if the world is dangerous, we want to be mighty. We want to have power. Okay, and mode of relationships is dichotomous. What do you mean? What do I mean by dichotomous? The relationship between people and between countries, between societies or civilizations, dichotomous. Dichotomous is black and white, right and wrong. There are no other colors, gray colors. So everything is true or false. An ultimate purpose, therefore, is to survive and control. Okay, if you constantly feel under danger of everything, physical, psychological, economical, every kind of danger, you want to control because you want to survive. And mode of decision making, therefore, is authoritarian. We tend to be authoritarian, and we tend to accept authoritarian decisions. And second worldview is identity-based worldview. What is it? Let's have a look at identity-based worldview. The central theme is the process of formation of individual and group identity. So at the center of this worldview really stays the formation of identity, whether individually or as a group identity. If you look at the international relations curriculums, we very much tend to see the state identity, formation of state or formation of culture, formation of nation building and identity. So this is very much to do with identity-based worldview. And often adversarial relationships in the context of the notion of the survival of the fittest in all areas of their individual and group life. So familial, political, economic, and academic, religious, and professional. So survival of the fittest in all areas of life. In the family, in society, in politics, in academic life, religious and professional, we say that the fittest, the best, let the best to win. Okay, survival of the fittest. And adolescent worldview, we tend to see it as adolescent worldview because the first one, survival level, was mostly corresponded to the childhood, but this one is more to do with the adolescent. So if we can also see many countries, many societies, many individuals, it doesn't matter whether they are really grown-ups, 80 years, 70 years old, but their worldview is very much to do, might be very much to do with, or their behavior, their decision-making, adolescent worldview. So it revolves around our awareness of ourselves in relationship to both other people and our own hopes and aspirations. So it's me, my life is important. So it is relativistic. and the decisions that we take in our lives in this worldview is very much self-centered. And the mindset promotes self-centeredness, individualism, and adversarial group identities within the objective of being to get ahead of others and to win. So the winning is very important. Let's have a look at from a chart. Okay, let's continue. So, sorry. That's the next slide. So corresponds to the gradual coming of age of both the individual and the society. So it is after agrarian society, we tend to have identity-based worldview. There are extremes of competition and rivalry. Yes, competition and rivalry is very, very important in this worldview. And adversarial democracy modes of governance is, very much at this level of identity-based worldview. Today, let's say Western societies is at best, if they're not survival-based, at best at their identity-based worldview. And the power structure is very much competitive. So survival of the fittest is the mode of operating principle. So that's from this chart you can see better the characteristics of identity-based worldview. The perception of world is as a jungle. World is jungle. Therefore, operating principle is the survival of the fittest. If the world is jungle, the best, the mightiest, the most strong, the strongest, the fittest should win the race. Okay, the competition, the rivalry. Mode of relationship is ships are individualistic, relativistic. Okay, your truth might not be true for me. So everyone has different desires. Everyone has different needs. Everyone's life is different. So, and that should be acceptable. It's relativistic and individualistic. Ultimate purpose is to win. Okay, winning, rivalry is very important. Mode of decision making, therefore, is adversarial and relativistic. Let's now talk a little bit about the abuse and misuse within both the survival and identity-based worldviews. Today, they are the most, prevalent, which means they are the most valid worldviews in contemporary world. However, they are incapable of creating peace or conformity or in the meeting the needs of humanity. They're not able to do this. So these worldviews therefore are clearly do more harm than good to humanity, and they are the source of the most conflict, aggression, violence, poverty, injustice today across all societies. The pandemic crisis that we live in today's world are very much the result of this kind of worldview, survival or identity-based. And positive aspects of human culture such as religion, science, modes of government, technology, family structure, business practice are all subject to misuse and abuse of this worldview. Okay, whatever good is, from environment to religion, from science to, good solutions to humanity like democracy are all abused or misused by this survival or identity-based worldviews. And unfortunately, if you're really looking, and we all are looking, the reasons of the conflicts, wars, and misery, injustice, poverty of today's world, these come from these two worldviews. And what is the solution then? Yeah, so let's repeat the problem. There is a need for transition from self-centered and anxiety-ridden insecurities of survival instincts, because we tend to see now, since we are at the level of survival and identity-based worldview, we tend to see the problems from the survival instincts, and our solutions to these problems again come from our survival instincts, from survival levels. okay? Or, if not survival, it's a little bit better, maybe we can call it better, from identity formation processes. And again, identity formation process or identity level of survival, of worldview is quarrelsome and individualistic. It also creates tension. And we, this scholar, Professor Hussein Danish, proposes that we, as a whole humanity, we need a new worldview, the unity-based worldview in all areas of human life. Okay? Otherwise, humanity will repeat itself, history will repeat itself in, politics, economics, every aspect. We will repeat our mistakes. So, what is this worldview, unity-based worldview? Okay, so he says that, Hussein Danish, he says that, he also calls it integrative worldview or peace-based worldview. It considers unity rather than conflict to be the primary law operating in human life and relationships. So he places unity at the center of defining the question, analyzing the question, and also solutions to these problems, he says, should come from this unity perspective, unity worldview. And this worldview perceives conflict to be simply a symptom of the absence of unity. Okay? This is very much different from all the other peace, peace approaches, because for contemporary, current approaches of peace studies, conflict is not a bad thing. It's a good thing, actually. So, in the aim of peace studies and peace and conflict studies is to manage conflict. Okay, not to turn it to peace, and even the definition of peace is problematic. But the at the center, there is a conflict. Okay, definition of conflict and reasons of conflict and how to transform or how to manage the conflict. So the operating principle is conflict. Everything revolves around conflict. However, Hussein Danish, he says that at the center, he says the conflict is simply a symptom of absence of unity, and he suggests that at the center should be the should be the unity. So, according to this theory or worldview, all the conflicts or theories of conflict, biological, psychological, and social, could be accounted for, and the diverse expressions of our humaneness could be understood within an integrative developmental framework. In other words, if we don't look at the problems, our personal, individualistic, social, economic, psychosocial, biological, political questions from an integrative framework, integrated developmental framework, we tend to, recreate conflicts. This is inevitable. And within this framework, unity-based worldview the unity-based worldview does not negate the needs of, at the level of survival or identity-based worldview. So in other words, it says at the according to unity-based worldview, all needs of survival and identity-based level, they are all met, but there is one more level further to go. Okay? So these fundamental objectives to meet, according to this unity-based worldview, to me should be equality, justice, and freedom from prejudice and oppression. These can be best met by the unity-based worldview. Okay, so the perception according to this worldview, unity-based worldview, the perception is that world is one. Okay, the whole creation, not only the world, our world, but the whole galaxy, humanity, galaxy is one. Operating principle, therefore, unity in diversity. Okay, this unity should be created, should be provided in not negating diversity. So unity and diversity should work together, should be together. And mode of relationship is just and truthful. Ultimate purpose is to create unity and peace. Mode of decision making is consultative and integrative. It sounds like a dream, well, it sounds like that it is not possible to have this kind of worldview. Okay, let's look at the chart together, three worldview together. So in perception, let's try to view the difference between these three worldviews. The perception in the first one, survival-based, world is dangerous. In the identity-based, world is jungle, and unity-based, world is one. So the tendency, the development should be, according to this worldview, integrative, based or peace-based worldview, the tendency, the development should be from dangerous, world is jungle, and world is one. So this should be the aim, actually. Operating principle in the first one was might is right. In the identity-based worldview, survival of the fittest, and in the unity-based worldview, unity in diversity. Okay, so and again, mode of relationships in the first one, dichotomies, so black and white, true and right and wrong. There is no, in the other colors. In the second one, there are all the colors, individualistic, relativistic. So we accept everything. In the first one, we only accept black and white. In the second one, identity-based conflict, we accept all colors, all colors. It's like a chaos. In the unity-based worldview, just and truthful. The purpose, ultimate purpose in the survival-based worldview is to survive and control, because life is dangerous, the world is dangerous. So in order to stay alive, we want to control. And in the second one, danger is not, is not dangerous for everyone. It's dangerous, it is like a jungle, there is kind of order, some kind of order, but this is, it is a life, it's a jungle for mighty. Therefore, we want to be the fittest and we want to win. And the last one, it suggests that the ultimate purpose is to create unity and peace. Mode of decision making, therefore, it differs from an authoritarian in the survival level. Authoritarian means we kind of feel safe at the authoritarian regimes or at the authoritarian mode of governance. And in the second one, adversarial and relativistic is, every ethnicity or every people or every nation might have different, different regimes or different kind of political administrations. It might be different, but the best one, the best regime, political regime, can create economic and political and social conditions. They can win. So there is a race, there is a rivalry in this worldview. And in the last one, it is consultative and integrative. In the second one, actually, there is not much there is not much relation or exchange of views, exchange of political, social, or economic powers. But because there is a race. In the last one, it is more integrative. So, and the societies, people, or individuals, or countries, they consult to each other. Okay. Again, to repeat, at the survival-based worldview, it is normal during childhood, corresponds to the agrarian and pre-industrial periods of societal development. So I'm not going to read all of them because it will take a lot of time. What I want to focus, or what I want to underline in this worldview, is that conflict and violence are inevitable. And unfortunately, we as humanity, the whole world, we are still mostly at this level. Although some countries, Western countries, they call themselves as democracies, Western democracies, developed countries, they are also mostly, I must say, at the survival base, at least for majority of their citizens. Not for the rich, but for the poor people. If you look at the American people now, majority of American people live at the survival level. So identity-based worldview or life is, for some very privileged people. And again, conflict in this worldview, conflict is viewed as inherent in human nature and necessary for progress. And this is very much can be criticized, because if you see conflict as very normal in human nature and necessary, not only it's natural but also necessary for human development, we don't really care about how to transform it into peace. Okay. Therefore, majority of problems, violence, inequality, poverty, come from these two worldviews. So the question is, in the last one, as we have said already, conflict viewed as the absence of unity. So wherever there is a conflict, wherever there is as a person, as a society, as a country, if there is a conflict, and if you see that, okay, this is a symptom of the absence of unity, the answers to change, to overcome this conflict will be completely different. Therefore, according to this theory, in the peace-based or unity-based worldview theory, at the center of our human of our life, or life should be unity. What happens when there is an absence of unity, and how can we provide, how can we create the unity in diversity? Actually, this COVID-19 coronavirus coronavirus pandemic, it has been very important. It has very positive, sides of it, from this unity-based, in terms of unity-based worldview, because it really reminded whole humanity, most of us, that there is the humanity is one, the world is one. If there is a problem in the, at the far, very far from our life, that problem can really affect our daily lives, and we have really experienced this reality very closely in our life. And from this perspective, from the creating the unity, that the world, humanity is one, from this perspective, this COVID-19 has been very, very positive and very useful pandemic, and it is a blessing from God, I think. And we have experienced this COVID-19, and previously there were HIV, AIDS, and SARS viruses. There have been many other viruses. There is also environmental issues. Let me address to environmental issues before economic and financial integration. Environmental issues also another sign of the reality, the truth that the humanity is one. Again, economic and financial integration also might be seen as a sign of the sign that humanity is one. Information technology, internet, everything, transportation system, these are all reminders to us that humanity is one. In brief, everything points to the fact that humanity is one and that all countries are inseparable parts of one planet. So unless each of us really believes or really understands, grasps this reality from the heart, from mind, and reorganize the whole life, individual, societal, political, economic life, from this consciousness level, it's inevitable that we will repeat the problems that we live today. Okay, so principles. There are some principles and prerequisites of a unity-based worldview. Principles of this kind of worldview are that, as I said, principles is that recognition that humanity is one. Actually, not only humanity, creation, the whole creation is one. And recognition that oneness of humanity is expressed in diversity. These are very much interrelated to each other. Okay, creation, humanity is one, and this oneness is expressed in diversity. And recognition, another principle of peace-based worldview, is recognition that there is a fundamental challenge before humanity. Actually, this is the only question of the whole humanity. How to maintain this oneness, but at the same time, how to celebrate, safeguard, foster diversity, okay, within oneness. Maintain this oneness and also safeguard, foster the diversity. This is the main challenge, fundamental challenge before humanity. Not the economic, political, or other, other questions. This is the most important problem. Should be in the minds of philosophers, actually, or wise people. Recognition, the last principle, recognition that this cannot be accomplished. Your unity in diversity. This, principle cannot be accomplished through violence, through force, but this can be only accomplished through open, creative, peaceful, just, and unifying decision and problem-solving practices. This is a very serious task to do before humanity, but to create or to accomplish this challenge, this cannot be done by violence. It should be voluntary and open, creative, and peaceful. So, and how to do this? Should be the main problem before humanity. Okay, and the prerequisites of peace-based worldview. So these were the principles, and I will now talk about the prerequisites of peace-based worldview. So what are the prerequisites? So there are some, what we say in our classes, there are some prerequisites. So in order to, there are some assumptions, let's say. There are some, some concepts, some definitions that we have to first accept, and then we can move to the next level. So firstly, peace, the definition of peace should change. So peace means peace, the definition of peace should be unity. In other words, the world disunited, that is disunited, intolerant of inherent diversity, cannot be peaceful. So if there is an intolerance, disunitedness somewhere, diversity cannot be peaceful. Inherent diversity cannot be safeguarded, and there will not be peace there. A second prerequisite is that unity is justice. So peace is, if we accept peace is unity, what is unity? unity is justice. And what is justice? If there is an injustice anywhere, wherever there is an injustice, there cannot be a unity in that place, in that place. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a human life, and also in the environment. So if there is no justice, there cannot be a unity. The third prerequisite is that. What about justice? What is justice? Justice is equality. A just world must be based on the equality of all its peoples in the context of equality of woman and man, or black and white, or all different diversities. So justice is unity is justice, peace is unity, unity is justice, justice is equality. So what is equality? Equality is maturity. Maturity, in Turkish we can say it is kamil, to be kemalat. To reach to a certain level of consciousness, and such a maturity must characterize your psychological, social, political, moral, and spiritual development. So it should be an integrative maturity, psychologically, socially, politically, morally, and spiritually. You come to a certain of maturity where equality is provided at that level. And the main prerequisite for unity is to have a new worldview and mindset based on the consciousness of humanity's fundamental oneness and nobility. So humanity is one. We are all human as human beings, individuals. Every individual is noble. In short, in order to achieve a lasting and progressive peace, we must simultaneously concentrate our thoughts, emotions, and willpower on the issues of the oneness of humanity, equality, justice, unity, and peace. And this is a great job to do. This should be the main challenge. This is the main challenge, the lack of this, the lack of unity and equality, justice, unity, and peace. This is the main challenge. And this is the main problem and challenge is before humanity is how to provide, how to safeguard, how to accomplish these issues before humanity. Okay, so again to see all of them in one, principles, prerequisites, and dimensions of peace, types of peace. Again, we have talked about principles of peace and prerequisites of peace. Let me quickly talk about dimensions of peace. Again, dimensions of spiritual, political, psychosocial, psychological, and social and environmental. Type of peace: inner peace, interpersonal peace, intergroup peace, international and global peace. So peace means peace is at 4 levels. There should be an inner peace. Personally, we should be in peace with ourselves, and how to create this peace is should be a question of psychology, discipline of psychology. Interpersonal peace should be again created, and this should be the question of question of sociology disciplines, or all the disciplines that relate with sociology. Intergroup peace, again interpersonal and then intergroup peace, sociology. International and global peace, international relations. So there is a very big task before us, and this is the circle: prerequisites, components, and applications. Prerequisites: elements of unity, peace-based worldview. Elements of a culture of peace. How can we create a culture of peace? And elements of a culture of healing. If there is not a culture of peace, if there is a conflict already happened in the society, how can we create or recreate? How can we create a culture of healing? Okay, and peace as the framework for the curriculum. And components of this worldview is unity-based worldview, study of elements of a culture of peace, study of elements of a culture of healing, study of all subjects within the framework of peace. Again, culture of peace, culture of healing, and culture of peace-based curriculum. To give you a brief definition of integrative theory of peace, peace has roots in the, according to Danish and his research assistant Sarah Clark Habibi, peace has its roots in the satisfaction of human needs for survival, safety, and security. So the first level, the first task that we need to do is to satisfy the needs for survival, safety, and security. The first need, human need, important human need. And second level of human needs that needs to be met is human quest for freedom, justice, and interconnectedness. This is also very important, very valid human needs that needs to be met. And integrative theory of peace or unity-based peace also suggests that the second level or another basic human needs such as freedom, justice, and interconnectedness should be also met. And third level, the third important group of, let's say, human needs are human search for meaning, purpose, and righteousness. Okay, this is also very, very important human needs, and these are three of them should be together, and the environment or the conditions should be provided to each individual in order to meet both survival, identity, and unity-based needs. Okay, there are some sub-theories of integrative theory of peace. Sub-theories, first one is peace is a psychosocial and political as well as moral and spiritual condition. So peace cannot be really only defined as a condition of psychosocial and political. If we exclude moral and spiritual condition, this is not a full peace, this is a missing piece. Therefore, it requires a conscious approach, a universal outlook, an integrated and unifying strategy. The second sub-theory is that a comprehensive, integrated, and lifelong education is the most effective approach for a transformation from the meta-categories of survival-based and identity-based worldview to a meta-category of a unity-based worldview. This means, this is also very important, that, so this requires, in order to meet all the needs, survival, identity, and unity-based needs of a human being and so the whole humanity, there should be integrated and lifelong education towards this unity-based worldview. If you educate some people and some, or some sect of society, but not the others, we will not really create this this worldview. Especially primary education is very important to create this kind of consciousness is very important. Okay, another sub-theory is that development of such a comprehensive condition of peace requires a cognitive, emotive, and behavioral change within the parameters of a unity-based worldview. So cognitive, emotive, and consciousness, our consciousness level, our consciousness towards humanity, life, and at what kind of level, state is our consciousness is very important, and this will affect our emotions. And when we create a certain level of change in our consciousness, this will affect our emotions, and this will end to a certain type of behavior. So our behaviors will change, and this will be the beginning of the perception or creation of unity-based worldview. The last one is only a dynamic, progressive, conscious, and all-inclusive state of peace resulting from a unity-based worldview is capable of meeting the fundamental and hierarchical tripartite human needs. Okay, so in order to meet the needs of survival level and identity level, and to come to a level of unity-based or peace-based worldview, there should be a dynamic, progressive, and conscious and all-inclusive state of peace resulting from a unity-based worldview. And this should shape all human endeavors and life processes, both individual and collective levels. So this mentality, this consciousness, this understanding, this perception of unity-based worldview should really affect all our thoughts, behaviors, and our actions. How to change this worldview? Worldviews are self-validating, and an explanation of reality as such are quite resistant to change. So it's not, in other words, it's not easy to change someone's worldview. And this is my experience, at least. So there are only two conditions or two ways to change our worldview. One is, as it happened today, like in pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, the first one is catastrophic crisis. Okay, if something catastrophic is something really very sad, very painful happens in our life, in our personal life or in society life, we then only we tend to take very radical decisions. This is true, as I said, for our personal lives or social lives as a country, and also as humanity, as we have experienced during this COVID-19 pandemic. Most of the people tend to define this as a catastrophe, as a catastrophe pandemic. But actually, it's a blessing from God to change our conflictual worldview towards life, towards environment, towards each other, to change towards a unity-based worldview. Or second, another way to change our worldview is to take a conscientious decision to change our life, or through universal, groundbreaking insights and universal education. So this is a decision that, decision to take, that we are going to live or design whole life towards the reality of unity in diversity. Okay, so now this is very interesting and very useful reflection process in order transforming our worldview through process. You all can ask this question to yourself: what is reality, and what is the main purpose? What is reality, hakikat? What is human nature? Okay, and what's the main purpose of human life? What are the laws governing human relationships? So if we start thinking about these four questions and our answers to these questions, this might be the first step to realize at what step, at what level we are at the moment, whether we are at the survival level or identity level, and if we want to, move to unity-based worldview. Yeah, so these are the questions and questions to consider our worldview. I want to end with this question, provoking question, to change our worldview from survival and identity towards a unity or integrative based worldview. Thank you.